contents of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
You're a Negro.
No.
I am your teacher. You are a Negro.
No.
Suppose I threatened to beat you. What would you say? Aren't you a Negro now?
No.
What are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Suppose I had some money in my pocket. Suppose I gave you $1 to say that you're an American Negro. This is money now. Money talks. Money talks. This dollar. And if you don't say it, you don't get it. You're an American Negro, aren't you?
No.
You won't have any money. You know you need money, don't you?
Yes.
You need money to live, don't you?
Yes.
All right. All you have to say, Leon, is that you're an American Negro.
Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? This is your host, the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to another live Black Minds News Report. First and foremost, I want to say what's good to the family that you happen to be in the house. What's good, everybody? I know you're like, damn, Mr. Blows Your Minds, you on again? Yeah, I'm on again. You know, the last video, they done snuffed it out. They ain't going to even get 100 now. Ain't that something? But it is. Passerbys, if you happen to pass by, this is the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. Go down the aisle, happen to see some things. They're a little bit outdated because I haven't been trying to get back into the game. Been in the game for some business, but again, we are suppressed, so take it for what you want, and hopefully that you do stay. We thank everybody come by. And welcome again to a live Black Minds News Report. I'm not sure. Hey, you turn it down a little bit, sir. Yeah, maybe he can hear that in the background. So, anyway, hopefully that you and yours are doing well, and you know how it is out here, what we're doing. So let me go ahead and show the thumbnail for the day for those who might have clicked on due to the thumbnail. Right? Today is February 24th, 2021. What the hell got 20 on there, bruh? Well, I got to fire this cat. Well, I'll tell you what to do. You know what I'm saying? I'll be 21 on there. We ain't in 2020. Wake up. But anyway, the clandestine sellout. Huh? The clandestine sellout. Well, it's a clandestine secretly. Don't really know they doing it, but they might be doing it because it could be their job, positions, or they just got gripes with you. Right now, you know, we as black people globally, this has always been an issue for us, right? It's always been an issue that certain people who feel certain ways. I'm actually got a quote for somebody who is a pantheon in our Mount Rushmore of people when we look at who contribute in, from the, let's say, from the foundation going up. But he's not really recognized, you know, like that. But I'm going to show words that he quoted. Let me show how that goes into what I'm talking about today. So, as you see on the thumbnail, you see Malcolm X on there. And some information came out, right? We will touch on that as well, right? We're going to get into that as well. So, no, it's a little late. It's after 8, so probably a lot of people who probably would be watching probably already getting themselves ready for the next day or watching something else. They might be more for their taste, but that's fine. So anyway, not sure. Let's see. So as I'm talking about this clandestine sellout, right? Can you do it from, you know, unconsciously? Can a person be a sellout unconsciously? Is it possible? Yeah, they say lack of knowledge, right? Some people, based on the programming that they got and what you adhere to, you might be able to do things that are detrimental to not just yourself, but you and your people as well. So as we get into that, But before I get into that, I want to show some things that I've seen that should be some importance to you as well. I had seen, we should go there first, right? So let's think about it like this. You know that recently we just heard Joe Biden say some things, supposed to been addressing about the police situation, and they're about to start the George Floyd case, right? So you know that's going to be a heightened about police and about police brutality and about police reform and all that other stuff. But I seen something that came up in the article. Let me show you what I seen there, right? It says Supreme Court to debate whether misdemeanors can be a foot in the door for warrantless home search. Let me say that again. Supreme Court to debate whether misdemeanors can be a foot in the door for warrantless home search. Think about that. When it has situations, when we're talking about this warrant situation, right? When a scene where that situation can go awry, we can see that people who are in positions of authority who say one thing, then what the all-seeing camera catches is different than what took place. But then it's kind of like Ty went to the runner and their word, even though somebody was killed during that process. And in this particular case, we're talking about in Kentucky and what happened there. But we see that the Supreme Court is going to get into this situation here. Let me give a little background to this, right? It goes on to talk about a story about a man named Arthur Lang. According to what the story talks about, he was about 100 feet away from his driveway when Chips, remember everybody back in the 80s, remember Chips? Dun, 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 remember Chips, right? But anyway, but the California Highway Patrol officer, he flipped on his flashing lights, right? And so instead of Mr. Arthur Lang stopping, what he did is he continued to pull into his garage and he closed the door. Now, that's not where the case is going to begin. The case is going to begin after he goes in, closes the door, and now the police is on the outside. Now, this is what happens now. Now, what's going to take place is going to go years of litigation trying to resolve this issue that now is going to actually go before the Supreme Court. And so, there was an argument on Wednesday where they believed that the Supreme Court was a sweeping implication for police power, right? Now, what they want to do is they go back to the night of October 2016, and the officer's name is Aaron Wickert. Now, he's the one who's going to get out of his car, and he's going to approach Arthur Lang's garage. Now, somehow, he must have got there quick enough to get his foot. Now, for those who have electric, let's say garage doors, and I guess that maybe there's a sensor that if something's there, get hit, the door will, go back up. Well, according to this is what happens here, right? Police officer put his foot under the door. It triggered the sensors and it sent the door back up. And as the door raises up, the officer goes in to the garage and asks, Mr. Lang, did you not see me behind you? And then he responded, I had not seen you. Okay. Now, accordingly, the officer said that he ended up smelling alcohol on his breath. They took a breathalyzer test. The test revealed that he did have blood alcohol content, which was, they say, 3 times the legal limit, right? So he was end up charged with a DUI. Okay. So the question at heart of this exchange was whether Wickert, which is the police officer, was on constitutionally shaky ground where he entered into Lang's garage without a warrant, right? Think about that. He was in pursuit of you. He said he turned his lights on, but you didn't recognize it. You went into your garage, which is part of your property, and somehow he gets in to confront you, right? Now, accordingly, police generally required to have a warrant to enter someone's home. But according to some of the situation we done seen over the last year or so, especially with the Breonna Taylor situation, right? It's required, but then you can have a no-knock warrant, right? And we see how that can end up. And there's many probably other stories out there that nobody has even talked about. But they say that under the Fourth Amendment, right, there's the unreasonable search, right? There's something called the unreasonable searches, which is under the Fourth Amendment. But they say courts have allowed exceptions when a police officer is in hot pursuit. They say if a suspect believed to have committed a felony, right? But in this case, are they talking about in Lane's case? But what would be used for the probable cause, which would be probably the point that they failed to stop. But failure to stop is really like a misdemeanor, okay? It's not a felony. Right? So this is where this is going to come into question it. Okay? Go ahead and put that picture up there, because that's who's going to be dealing with this, supposedly, right? That's what they say, right? Yeah, go ahead and show that. There you go. There you go. Got the wrong date today, but you got that up there. Okay, but anyway. Now they say the difference may seem academic. And then they get into the civil liberty groups, and they're saying, well, this issue is going to be about to expand police powers because of the breadth of a misdemeanor charges. Now, misdemeanor have, different parts to it. It's not all inclusive of one thing, right? Misdemeanor crimes can be serious. And then you can have misdemeanors that could be like littering, jaywalking. They even talk about like defacing dollar bill. Now, who gonna lock you up with defacing the dollar bill? Now, that's extremely petty, right? I can understand we're not going to accept it, but how did you end up getting incarcerated or the police called on you? Somebody really don't like your ass. But anyway, so they said courts have reached different answers to the question at issue in this case. So 5 state Supreme Courts held that a misdemeanor pursuit justifies a warrantless home entry. Okay? 3 state courts and 2 federal appeal courts, the issue must be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, right? Each case is different, right? No, can't blanket everything. So based on the case. But you got to ask yourself the question, how would you feel? We Black Americans, I know somebody else could be in here who may not be Black American, but what we as Black Americans, to have police to now have the power of a misdemeanor will give them probableness to come in your house now without a warrant. Think about you on that for a minute, right? So accordingly, when you look at the National Fraternity of Order of Police, the General Counsel must say, well, the courts are all over the place on this. Now, on behalf, he was supporting for his officer, right? He says, the question is, should the United States Supreme Court lay down the law of the land? Should they take this? Right? Now, Carney said that the Fourth Amendment questions divide the Supreme Court in an unusual way. Okay? There was a case they had earlier where I think it was Justice Neil Gorsuch. He called the ruling in Vermont allowing a game warden to peer into the inside of a garage without the warrant and called it an error on the fact of the ruling, right? So, okay. That was one person, right? Then as we talked about the George Floyd situation about his cases coming up, you got the Breonna Taylor situation, right? And so you have people who sit here saying that this will open the door. It will not just open the door, it's going to open the floodgates to police entry into a home. Now that was the law professor of Harvard, her name is Alexandria Natapoff, and she written widely on this, the proliferation of misdemeanor crimes. Said it was seen to be exactly the backup response to everything that has happened with the George Floyd, and they say Black Lives Matter. This will not be police reform. Like I said, think about that. Now, you can use the situation of somebody driving in a vehicle, and then as initially the story was about you was going to stop somebody that it seemed like you didn't find out they were drunk until you did the breathalyzer, but what were you initially pulling them over for? Right? Was it about being drunk, or you smell alcohol and then it was like, okay, let's take it, let's see if you were drunk. But what were you initially pulling him over for, right? What were you really pulling him over for, right? And then let's just say, well, that's just one part of a scenario. Let's just say you're familiar with a certain police officer, got some gripe with you, but run your plates or something and notice that you got maybe some paper trace on you. Could he use that to let you get to your house and then be able to come in your house and search your house? Warrantless warrant. I got, this may seem like nothing, but think about that. And then we're talking about sometimes these people who supposed to be, as they say, serve and protect and have their own agendas behind the mask or behind the badge could be using the falsely, right? So they say some advocates say allowing a suspect to dart into a home to avoid possible arrest creates another set of problems for police. Now, we understand that. Are you saying that we're trying to, elude or escape from prosecution or from the police? But I think it was different than the fact that they were in their house, right? Well, I guess you wouldn't know if they were in their house. But there's going to have to be some kind of gray area, right? But we know how that works, right? You'll write something out in law, but later on it'll be something that, you know how it is. It's after that. Tell it to the judge. Then we're going to sort all that out. That don't mean that you didn't go through a lot of nonsense in the beginning to get you in the situation, even though this might be written, but you know how it is. Those who done dealt with the situation, once they get that pen and that pad in their hand, what actually happened versus what end up you going to have to fight might be something entirely different. So, think about that, right? I just wanted to bring a little bit to that because we're gonna deal with that because, law, like they're saying, this law stuff, right, with the police, right? Seems like things are heightening up and everybody trying to focus on black people attacking Asians and black people doing this and black, right? Like what's going on here, right? Anyway, I wanted to bring that to your attention. But then there was this other thing too I want to show you, right? I'm going to show you this other thing too. So there's some applications in that. They're going to allow police officers to be coming to your home. Now again, if that's California, you know how it goes. Start in one place, especially when you're talking about California, then it's going to spread all through the rest of the nation. Just some, fact to chew on, something to think about, just in case you didn't hear about that. Now in Illinois, I don't know if you heard, should we take that break and come right back? Take that break, come right back. Check this, I'll be right back, y'all. All right, we back, right? So again, okay, so that's a misdemeanor warrant, and you end up getting yourself arrested, right? And that situation was, okay, it ended up being what it was, and you had to go through the process. Now you get to the police station, right? And they've been finding out that a lot of people have been sitting behind because they couldn't pay bail, right? Used to be back in the day, you used to get an I bond, right? Remember that? Get the $5,000 I bond and all that other good stuff. Right? So a lot of people sit up in there because they couldn't pay the bond to get out, right? Well, I don't know if y'all heard up in Illinois, right? Well, we just was in Illinois. Let's say Chicago, right? Let's say that. Did you see this? HB, which is House Bill 3653. What's included in the bill being signed into law Monday, right? There was a law that was signed up in Illinois the other day. Or yesterday. No, it was 2 days ago, right? Yeah. Now, the governor name is J.B. Pritzker. On Monday, he ended up signing what they call this criminal justice and police reform to end cash bails in Illinois. He signed that. In House Bill 3653. They said it was authored by the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus. Right? The Black Caucus. Black Caucasians. But anyway, approved by the Illinois General Assembly last month. Significant changes, they say, like police training policies and police accountability, transparency in law enforcement, the right of detainees and prisoners, right? So the elimination of monetary bail. That's kind of good, right? Going in there for some misdemeanor and you still sitting in there because, hard times. Maybe nobody can't come up there to pay the bill or whatever. You sitting up in there. 3 hots in the cut till somebody come up here and hit this bail. But Illinois seems like they're going to change that, right? Now, they said some of the things that they're talking about. They're going to require that all police officers wear body cameras by 2025. That's a given, shouldn't it be? I mean, shouldn't the cameras be also protected for you? Why is it that the people who are supposed to be about law have a hard time wearing something that shit would help you? Unless something you don't want to be seen. But that's in the next 4 years? Something you passing now, so they're going to take 4 years for you to put all of the police officers. So between now and 4 years, a lot can happen, right? But anyway, a ban on all police chokehold. Ban on all. I mean, unless your life is threatened, I guess a chokehold would be the. Other than that, what was the purpose of it? We seen what happened to Eric Gardner over some loosies, right? That was loosies that happened on, right? New guidelines for decertification of police officers to suspend license for failure to pay. Pay what? Was that child support? Because that really think about that. Did that even make sense? Right? That you owe child support, but you can't drive, but yet you're supposed to try to get a job to pay, but they're gonna take away that. So, sometimes some things just don't match, right? Anyway. They also talked about the fact that banned police departments from purchasing military equipment, like the 50 caliber rifles and tanks, increased protection of whistleblowers. Increased protection of whistleblowers. What do they mean, those in the police force? Maybe that's what they're talking about. The rights for detainees to make phone calls and access their personal contacts before police questioning. A lot of this stuff just seems like this is a given, right? It's like you should be doing this anyway. Why you gotta rewrite this when it should be this normal process? But okay. Just go to show that even though you write some of this stuff, I guess some people literally, you have to write it. It's not a given, right? And I guess that's how law works. So detainees, prisoners of all those who interact with police officers will have the expectation of prompt medical care while in custody. Right. Okay. Yeah, you getting hurt behind there. Yeah. You waiting on that bologna sandwich too. Why are you bleeding? Anyway. So they got special accommodations made for pregnant women. Charges of resisting arrest. Now check out this one, y'all. Charges of resisting arrest must be cited. A justification for the original arrest that was allegedly resisted against under the measure. Let me say that again. Charges of resisting arrest must be cite a justification for the original arrest that was allegedly resisted against under the measures. Yeah, how did you get a resisting arrest and there was nothing prior to that? How can the person just have resisting arrest and there was nothing prior to? Same thing like going back to the story in California where he went into the garage. He pursues him, said because he didn't stop, but he went in there. Is it because he didn't stop? Was that made him go into there? Then he find out what? Smell like you've been drinking. Now I got a DUI, which is an upgrade to when just you not stopping, right? You went through the stop sign or the red light or no turn on red or whatever it was. Now I got you for something anymore. You see what I'm saying? And so that's how the resisting arrest was, right? Folks say that. That's now that it takes it out. Whatever they were doing originally, now it's between you and them. And that would stick, there's a lot of, that's what a lot of brothers end up getting is that resisting arrest. You don't be wanting to have that because they say you fight cops, right? So I guess in Illinois now what they're going to try to do is they're going to say, well, you need some justification how you got there. But still, once again, that don't mean you won't go through the process and then we sort all that out later, but you're not already sit 10 days up in there. You get what I'm saying? Once you in them situations, it don't necessarily mean that the cop go, I can't do this because, I can have a justification for that. If he's, whatever emotions and feelings he is at the time and he feel like this is what he going to do, you're going to deal with that. Now, they'll deal with that at the end, but you know how they're going to work, right? Come on, Tom. No, we can't do that anymore. Okay. So let me show you some of this stuff on your screen so you can see as I go across some of this. We're going to get into the crux of today's show. Go ahead and show that for everybody up on the screen there, right? It says require reporting on death in police custody. You didn't have to report before? Really? I mean, somebody died in police custody. You didn't have to write no report. But now we're going to require you to do it. Really? Requires police to provide a predicate of offense for resisting arrest. That is a reason for why an arrest was occurring in the first place. Right? A to B, right? Can't go from C without A and B, right? Makes sense. But that should have been a given anyway. How do you get there anyway? How do people get stuck with something and they had nothing before that preceded before it? But anyway, expand police training on use of force, crisis intervention, as well as first aid training. Training on use of force. Okay. Expand training. They're going to get some more money, right? I think in Chicago, they talking about how a lot of that money didn't get to the people. They put the money into the police department, right? I think there's some little fire about that going on in there. But anyway. Require statewide standards and services for officers to receive regular mental health screenings and assistance while ensuring that counseling and screening remains confidential. Wait a minute. Hold on. Say that again. Require statewide standard and services for officers to receive regular mental health screenings and assistance, right? While ensuring that counseling screening remains confidential. Really? Okay. Now, screening. Is that the same as analyzing? Right? Screening versus analyzing. You know what I'm saying? Screening is just saying, okay, you're going to reveal to me what's going on. But we're not trying to resolve anything. We're just going to, just tell me what's going on here, Tom. Right? And then even after the fact of that, would you say we're going to keep this confidential? Well, what's the purpose of it? You know what I'm saying? To remain confidential. Then how are you going to fix anything? It got to get to somebody so somebody can evaluate it, right? They ain't trying to do that. They ain't trying to do that. But anyway, requires police department to participate in the FBI use of force database and strengthen the requirements for use of deadly force. Prohibit chokehold by police officers. Imposes upon police a duty to intervene in excessive use of force by another officer and to render aid when necessary. Enhances whistleblower protections, extend all restrictions to the use of force that apply to law enforcement officers to bounty hunters as well. Say, the bounty hunter, you got to do like we do. You got to be handcuffed like we handcuffed. Like that something? That show still come on, that bounty hunter stuff? I know he got another lady, his woman died, right? I ain't never watched it, but I heard about that. But anyway. Ban the use of certain military equipment, provide guidance in the use of crowd control measures. Yeah, we hear you. We hear all that being said, right? How will we know what kind of weapon has been used on you if you dead? And then they got to go through the process to find out, we kind of find out, damn, he had a 50 caliber anyway. Oh, what's going to happen? All right, so what else they got up in there? Requires the maintenance of police misconduct records and requires the use of special prosecutors and officers involved death. Requires the maintenance. What is maintenance? Like cleanup? Requires the cleanup of police misconduct records. You go clean it up before. For those who ever been through that process and been trying to get them, get the officer's record, dismiss that case before you get them damn records. You understand what I'm saying? Or they'll keep continuing it. Hoping they're going to catch you, right? Yeah, right. Expand the officer's misconduct database. Remove public discipline from the collective bargaining process. Require the use of body cameras statewide by 2025. Removes the requirement for sworn affidavits for police misconduct complaints. Let me say that again. Removes the requirements for sworn affidavits. So wait a minute. You had to make an affidavit in order just to make the complaint. You couldn't just file the complaint. You had to have an affidavit too? Wow. Detainees, prisoners, civil rights. Right? Several measures in the HB 3653 are aimed at reforming detainees, prisoner rights, and to ensure Illinois criminal justice system is fair for everyone. Sims said in the statement, among other things, the bill, right? Increases service and programming for pregnancy. Okay, so they're trying to come with something sweeping, right? They're trying to come with something sweeping in Illinois, right? I could go through A to Z with it. But the point is it fluff? Or is it going to really have any reform in it? To put all that, and then you have to really look at it again. It says maintenance. It says, saying the difference between analyzing and then we just going to, assessment. I say analyze. I meant to say assessment, right? I think the difference between assessment and, what was that? Hold on. Yeah, it was assessment, right? Yeah, so it was assessment and, go back to that. What was that? There's a request. There we go. Screening. Assessment and screening is two different things. Screening is very just like, hey, come on, just tell me what it is, but, right? Assessment is that we're going to try to get to the root and find out what it is and get to the root of cause of it and then make a determination. Is it a hard job? Yeah, it's a hard job, right? But, everybody else got to follow rules and regulations, so I guess you would have to too, right? But, this is Illinois, so they're being the first ones in the nation to start off with getting rid of, looks like, cash bond bail, right? The cash bail, right? Will that help? Yeah, some of those situations where, saying people sit up in jail 5-6 months because somebody come up there and get on, I don't know, $100, $200, whatever, the bill might be, right? You're still sitting up in there waiting on somebody to come and cash you out. Now, I'm still how the I bond went away, but it did. So anyway, right? So that's that HB 3653. Okay. Let's see. Go there for me, sir. And let's go back over there. Because now we're going to get into this crux. See, we start off with this here because we're getting to where we got to go. Because remember what the title of the show is. It's about the clandestine sellout. Right? Yeah, let's go with him. Yeah, go with him. And put him up there. There we go. Let's go there, right? So let's do this first, right? Said in 1911, Booker T. Washington supposedly wrote this, right? He says, there's a class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardship of the Negro race before the public, having learned that they are able to make a living out of their troubles. They've grown into the settled habit of advertising their wrong, partly because they want sympathy, and partly because it pays. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievance because they do not want to. Where's the rest of that, sir? Hello? I'm going to put the help window. I'm going to have to, hold on, man. I'm going to put this help warning in the window. You know what I'm saying? No. Oh, that it? That's it? Okay, maybe that's it. Okay, my fault. My bad. So again, let's look at this, right? This is Booker T. Washington. Now, some people, you know, there's people who are advocates for Booker T. Washington. There's some people who didn't agree because Booker T. was like, why we into all this politics stuff? If we just would have stuck to the agriculture and did what we needed to do, we wouldn't have to need to ask him. In that sense, he was right. He was right in that sense. But he said something here, and I'm like, okay. I seen somebody had used this, somebody who was advocating that, like, we, those in the black corner, when we be sitting here trying to, you know, again, bring information, news, and so forth about what's dealing with us and what's going on in our world that we need to having some awareness about. They use this to try to say that that's what we do. That this class of colored people. And somebody who used to say that good troubles. What was his name? I don't know, some Selma thing he was getting his head. What was his name? John Lewis? He was always talking about, do some good troubles, right? So it seems like there's people who are agitated, who get angry with us because we reminding people about what you've done, what we're going through, what your continuous things you're doing. And it seems like we always have somebody on our side who's always willing to, you know, do the extra. You know, right? Just go out and do the extra because why? You say it pays for us doing what we doing. Now again, are there charlatans? Are there people who doing this because it's the fad right now? And it seemed to be a good way to make some pay. There are some people out here who are doing it that way. That don't mean all of us are out here like that. Some of us doing this because of the love that was what we like to do, right? And so, let's see. What Booker T. Washington talking about here, right? So, what about this? Let's say this. You work somewhere, right? We all, either you got a business, or you have people that work for you, or you work somewhere, right? Or you don't have a job, or used to have a job. And, you know, sometimes you have some people in your job, and it's like, they like you, but they act like they not like you. And it's all about the job, right? When you hear somebody talk like this, right, what you thinking? Let me show you this and be right back. Check this out.
Tips from the HR department. Hood names and resumes. Listen, are we judging you? Yes, we are. I'm just trying to keep it real. When we see a name that's, I don't know, hard to pronounce or has a la, ka, and equa on it, we are judging you by your name first. But let your experience speak for you. Now, let me say this. If you have a middle name that may be less hood, do your initial, your middle name, and your last name, okay? It will get you in the door, and then you get in there and code switch your ass off, get that job, and be the boss that you are. Follow me for more tips. Tips from the HR department. Hood names and resumes. Listen, are we judging you? Yes, we are. I'm just trying to keep it real. When we see a name that's, I don't know, hard to pronounce or has a la, ka, and equa on it, we are judging you by your name first. But let your experience speak for you. Now, let me say this. If you have a middle name that may be less hood, do your initial, your middle name, and your last name, okay? It will get you in the door, and then you get in there and code switch your ass off, get that job, and be the boss that you are. Follow me for more tips.
All right, so, right? Imagine that. Somebody in the HR department is telling black folks, hey, you know that black name you got? You know, if you want a job, because when I'm sitting here looking at applications, when I see some Shaniqua and Janika and all this, I'm already discriminating against you, right? She's sitting there saying that, right? She's saying that, right? Well, what is this thing, you know, we be in positions sometimes that could actually help our people, but we rather be sitting here criticizing and talking about these names. Wait a minute. My name is my name. Matter of fact, I don't think you chose your name, did you? Unless you got monikers out here like Mr. Blow Your Mind and stuff like that. But what you say, government name. You didn't choose your government name. You was given it by the parents that produced you, right? Who had you, right? But, she felt like this is good advice, right? To say that those names don't help you to get a job. When you have umfum on there, do you still give them the name? I mean, do you still give them an interview when they say umfum? Now that's okay, right? But this taste for Shaniqua and right? I mean, if it's in your hand as a black woman, I'm assuming that that's what you are, right? If you're a black woman, then what you mean? Now, her advice was, change your middle and last name. Then how the hell you gonna cash your damn check? Let me say that again. You gonna tell people the advice is, change your middle and your last name. Then how they gonna cash their check? You see what I'm saying? So it's like sometimes, people, I guess their intent is good, right? But it's like clandestinely, right? You're selling out. You're selling out. You know you're selling out. Because she said something like code switching, right? She said code switch. Get in there and then, you code switch. Now, wait a minute. Now, code switch is basically speaking what they say is alternative between two or more languages. Now, they want you to speak another language. Now, what language would we as black Americans in this country speak other than the Ebonic English that we speak, right? Is that the difference, that we're speaking Ebonic English? So code switching for us must mean we must stress sound proper. So It ain't got to do with my name. It's I got to come with a better attitude, and I got to sound appeasing and pleasing to this other person. Now, wait a minute, you the one in HR. You already saying you discriminating on me based on my name. Now you telling me to come in there and code switch. Huh? No, that's people who speak different languages. That's code switching when they get to, the syntaxes and all that stuff. That's what they do. Now, wait a minute. You got it as if like you want them to code switch. See, this is what we're teaching, right? Now, when you think about this, they say this go back to the 1940s and 50s. Used as some kind of substandard language, right? A substandard language. Then it reinvented itself back in the 80s. Well, I know where that came from, in them 80s, huh? What have you done for me lately? Well, the women moving again, right? But anyway, so they say of the times, they say the scholars now look at this as this is normal now. Wait a minute. Yeah, because listen how she is advising her people. Only way you can get this is changing up who you are. You're not acceptable to get a job. Has nothing to do with the criteria, has nothing to do with your ability. It has something to do with just your name. Your name has already, right? Some people, well, she's right. You're coming in my house, I'm talking from Shanika Johnson. What? Oh, she's supposed to go get a name change. So she can't get no job because her name is Shaniqua. Oh, okay. Now, they say this form of switching is practice. And the example they talk about in this practice is we, Black Americans, our vernacular English. Again, remember the Ebonics that they say we spoke? Broken English, as if the English they speak is the Queen's English, right? Sometimes some people, they get under me, you don't speak proper English, right? But there's something else on our people in those positions that could be helping. Because I remember I worked at a place some years back, and there was a sister there. Now, the sister called, so she trying to holler at her brother, She said, hey, if somebody come up in here to need a job, just send them up here to me, and I'll give them a job because it's based on your reference. So sisters would come in there, and I would call up, hey, she need a job. He need a job, right? And guess what? A lot of people got hired on that, right? Then what happened is another person had got in there. Later, they got rid of her, got somebody else in the position. And guess what? This person was kind of like this person that you just heard. Why is it that when we get in those positions that could actually be beneficial for our people, what we do is we don't want to seem too black. I ain't putting eye on black people because they think I'm just hiring black people. But when these other people get in there, what you think they be doing? Right? Ain't that what they be doing? Yeah, that's what they be doing, right? So, ain't that something? She tell you code switch. They kind of clandestine a sellout. So, it's soft, what do they say? Soft shoeing a sellout, right? Ain't going in here and you got to be a certain way to be this in front of show your hands and your teeth to the boss, and then afterwards you go home. Then you all talking, woofing, and all that other stuff. Be straight. Take me the way I come, or don't take me at all. But that's the game many of us have to play. And so people who trying to make it, they get in those positions, and then whatever the script come to them, and this is the way you got to do it to get you, to cut you, they gonna do it. With no hesitation, because they don't maintain what they trying to do, right? So, ain't that something? Then I seen this one. I seen this too, so do the break and then go into that one for me, sir. Okay. Do the break and then go into that one.
This might clarify a lot. I was raised by a white Christian Reformed family who adopted me from birth and then tried to break every stigma that they thought black people just inherently have, to create a better version. There's a reason I was never around black people growing up, is because my family avoided them and tried to raise me as something completely different. Kind of like if we adopt it young, we can change it, and there's one less bad black person in the world. Oh yeah, this might clarify a lot. I was raised by a white Christian Reformed family who adopted me from birth and then tried to break every stigma that they thought black people just inherently have, to create a better version. There's a reason I was never around black people growing up, is because my family avoided them and tried to raise me as something completely different. Kind of like if we adopt it young, we can change it, and there's one less bad black person in the world.
All right. So that little sister there said that she was adopted by a white family. And they were Christians. And their duty was to take this little negress girl and reprogram her so that she would be, acceptable in their eyes, right? Be the apple in their eye, right? I always wondered about that. You ever wonder about that sometimes? There were people that, who, let's say, I seen a video a day ago. It was a black woman who had adopted a little white boy. Went into the store, said she was training, they had been potty training him, and he had to use the washroom. So I had to go back, so she picked him up and was running across the store to get him to the bathroom. Bunch of white women seen him and was like, let's get her. She get in the bathroom, let him do what he had to do. They surround her, trying to grab her and all that other stuff. She's like, what's this all about, right? Why? They thought you were stealing a white boy, right? That's what they was thinking, right? But it's not something dangerous when it's the other way around. White folks raising black kids, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just part of life, right? So you heard what she said. Now, that was her philosophy of her life, dealing with the people who end up, raising her. But she come to that some total understanding that that's what they were trying to do to her, right? Hey, have you ever heard of the white man's burden? Have you ever heard of the white man's burden? Now, it was written by Rudyard Kipling. And it says something like this. Take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go, bind your sons to exile, to serve your captives' need, to wait in heavy harness on flooded folks and wild. Your new caught sullen people, half devil and half child. Take up the white man's burden in patience, to abide, to veil the threat of terror, and check the show of pride. By open speech and simple, and 100 times made plain, to seek another profit and work another gain. Take up the white man's burden, the savage war of peace. Fill full the month of famine, and bide the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest the end of the other salt, watch sloth and heathens folly bring all your hopes to naught. Take up the white man's burden, no iron rule of kings, but toil of serf and sweepers. The tale of common things, the porch ye shall not enter, the roads you shall not tread. Go make them with your living, and mark them with your dead. Take up the white man's burden, and reap his old reward, the blame to those ye better, the hate of those ye guard, the cry of hosts your humor, all slowly towards the light. Why brought ye us from bondage, our love Egyptian night? Take up the white man's burden, ye dare not stoop too less, nor call too loud on freedom to cloak your weariness, but all ye will of whisper, by all ye leave or do. The silent sullen peoples shall weigh your God and you. Take up the white man's burden, have done with childish days, the lightly proffered laurel, the easy undredged praise. Come now to search your manhood through all the thankless years, cold edge and dear drop wisdom, the judgment of your peers. Now that is the white man's burden. Now what are they really saying in there, right? You heard a bunch of old English talk, right? But that was the white man's burden. Went back about in 1899, right? It was talking about how the white race is morally obliged to civilize the non-white peoples of planet Earth. Let me say that again. The white man's burden was written back in 1899. The purpose of it was about the white race is morally obliged to civilize the non-white peoples of planet Earth. The whole earth. Not some, not part, not partial, but the entire earth. To encourage their progress through settlers' colonialism. So you heard the little sister in there say how her parents were doing her. I read a book some years back called I think it was called the Golden Stool. And in that, it was about the missionaries that was in Africa. And what they were writing, they were saying that the black man, and when we say black man, you know they be meaning all of us, the sisters as well. But the black man would be he would be acceptable when he becomes a black white man, right? Black white man. So anytime when you try to stay in the natural of you, that's a problem. People don't like it when you in the natural. It makes them feel uneasy, like somehow that in your natural state, and if they think in the way they in their natural state, and they think if you did what I did to you, I think you would have animosity towards me, even though maybe not many of us don't even think like that. But the point is, that's how they're thinking. So the comfortability is to keep you in a position like you've seen that one there. Hey, you want this job, you must change your name. The Shaniqua is not going to work. Your hair, you gotta get it. You gotta fry it, dye it, and lay it to the side. Right? So this white man's burden, the empires that existed not for the benefit of the economic and strategic and otherwise of Britain of that time, but it was in order to that the primitive peoples incapable of self-government. Think about that. You, in their eyes, are incapable of self-govern. We must govern for you. Right? Ain't that something? They believe you don't have the right to govern your own damn self. That if they don't govern it, it can't be right. That you can't get right without them. I remember one time when somebody was talking about the Rahawa, the racial holy war, and then talking about the the cataclysm of white the population and so forth, and said, well, if we do go, this is what they used to tell me. Well, if they do go, this planet would be dead in about 100 years. We're not here. Really? We were here? How long we been on this planet? Right? But that's the mitigated goal somebody got to say. Well, without us, you guys it won't function. Now, some people believe that. Some people drink the Kool-Aid. Some people, right? So this is, their whole thing is to guide us to eventually to make you become civilized and also Christianized. You know, a lot of people, black people love to say, I'm Christian. You don't really know what that Christian and what that's really about, do you? You think it's about Jesus. You think it's really about Jesus. All right. So these are supposed to be these positively represented the colonial imperialism, moral burden of the white race, divinely destined to civilize the brutish non-whites, of the inhabitants of all the barbarous parts of the world, right? So it is somebody clandestinely will mold somebody who is like clay, who don't have no idea, who will have what they call that, the natural love of a child to parent. And here you have an idea, as she said, that I'm going to mold you in a way that I'm going to make you a good black person. That if you stay in your natural state, you won't be a good good black person. So clandestinely, you're creating what? Sellout. Because if that person get around other people in their natural state, they're going to have a natural abhorrence towards them. They're going to be abhorred. Negroes are wild and rambunctious and loud and right? All those things, right? Crazy, right? That's what we living in, right? So think about that. You used to always see on TV, you be seeing people, they would be adopting people. Matter of fact, I think that judge they had just put into the Supreme Court not too long. I think a lot of people was kind of questioning about they had the two. They had a girl and a boy, right? I think they got them from Haiti. Remember when they was going to Haiti and getting all them kids up out of Haiti, right? And Madonna and them was, you know what I'm saying, and what's that, Jolene and Brad and them, you know what I'm saying? It was like this little thing, get one of them, right? But you can be clandestinely creating an individual who's going to be going against his own damn people. You say you're doing it for the right intent, but we don't know until the end results end up manifesting itself, right? So with that being said, let's get to this then. Because, this story just broke. I was talking about with Malcolm, right? And let me show you this and be right back. Check this out.
Marked 56 years since the assassination right here in Washington Heights at the old Audubon Ballroom. His daughters have long believed there was an untold truth about Malcolm's assassination, a conspiracy. Tonight, they have new evidence.
Who taught you to hate your own kind?
A leader with a revolutionary voice.
Malcolm X is Black Lives Matter.
Gunned down in front of his own daughters.
Discovering the truth is always most important to us.
Is the truth finally revealed in this one-page letter? Reggie Wood says his cousin, Ray Wood, wrote this confession on his deathbed. Ray Wood was an undercover NYPD officer.
He lived in constant fear for over 46 years.
The letter reads, "My job was to infiltrate civil rights organizations throughout New York City to find evidence of criminal activity so the FBI could discredit and arrest its leaders."
He conspired to help the NYPD assassinate Malcolm X.
Wood says his NYPD bosses ordered him to lure members of Malcolm X's security team into a federal crime. They were arrested just days before Malcolm X was gunned down. Wood also wrote he was inside the Audubon Ballroom at the time of the shooting.
He wanted the world to know that he is deeply sorry.
With the help of National Civil Rights Attorney Ben Crump, Reggie Wood delivered the letter to 3 of Malcolm X's daughters.
Any evidence should be thoroughly investigated.
3 members of the Nation of Islam were convicted of Malcolm X's killing, but after concerns over the investigation were renewed last year with the Netflix series Who Killed Malcolm X,
the FBI was definitely afraid of someone like Malcolm X.
The case is now being reinvestigated by the same team in the Manhattan DA's office that exonerated the Central Park 5. The DA's office tells us the review is active and ongoing.
The NYPD said in a statement they have turned over all evidence pertaining to this case to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and they remain committed to assisting the Manhattan DA and their investigation. Reporting outside the Shabazz Center in Washington Heights, Ayana Harris.
All right, Malcolm X family says letter shows NYPD and FBI conspired in his murder. Let me say that again. Malcolm X family says letter shows NYPD and FBI conspired in his murder. They said almost 56 years ago, since the day of Malcolm X's assassination in New York City, lawyers and family members of the late civil rights and black nationalist leader released new evidence they claim shows that NYPD and FBI conspired in his murder. Comes in the form of a deathbed letter attributed to a former undercover NYPD officer who claimed he was pressured by supervisors to lure two of Malcolm X's security men into committing crimes a few days before the assassination on February 21st, 1965. The arrest kept the two men from managing door security at the Audubon Ballroom in Washington Heights, which should be Harlem's, right, on the day of the shooting, according to the letter. The letter written by Raymond Wood was authorized for posthumous release by his cousin. It was read on Saturday at a press conference attended by three of X's daughters and members of Wood's family. No details about the circumstance and timing of Wood's death were provided. Under the direction of my handlers, the letter states, I was told to encourage leaders and members of the civil rights group to commit felonious acts. Last year, the assassination was the subject of a 6-part Netflix documentary, Who Killed Malcolm X, which revisited long-standing questions over whether 2 or 3 men convicted in the shooting were innocent in 2011. And NYPD detective involved wrote, the investigation was botched. The documentary prompted the Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. to review convictions in the case. Following Saturday's news conference, Vance's office said the review was active and ongoing. In a separate statement, the NYPD said it had provided all available records relevant to the case to Vance and remains committed to assist with the reviews in any way. The FBI did not comment. Malcolm X was shot seconds after stepping to a lectern to speak. Days early, he told an interview he believed members of the Nation of Islam were seeking to kill him. He was being surveilled by the FBI at the time. His home in Queens was firebombed the week before he was killed. One of his daughters, Isla Chavez, told a press conference on Saturday she had lived with decades of uncertainty. Any evidence that would provide greater insight into the truth behind the terrible tragedy should be thoroughly investigated, she said, right? So, we see that some say new evidence have come out that an individual decided to tell the truth before he left the planet, right? So, let's see, did we show? We need to show the letter. Did we show the letter? Let me read exactly what was on the letter. Maybe for those who have not heard the entirety of that letter. Is that it? Boy, you've been slow today, boy, I'll tell you. Okay. All right, let's do the letter and be right back. Check this out. January 25th, 2011, to whom it may concern. I, Raymond A. Wood, being of sound mind and body, wish to confess the following. I was a black New York City undercover police officer from April 1964 through May of 1971. I participated in actions that in hindsight were deplorable and detrimental to the advancement of my own black people. My actions on behalf of the New York City Police Department were done under duress, and that if I did not follow the orders of my handlers, I could have faced detrimental consequences. Presently, I am aging with failing health, Recently, I have learned of the death of Mr. Thomas Johnson and are deeply concerned that with my death, his family will not be able to exonerate him after being wrongly convicted in the killing of Malcolm X. The facts are as the following. April 17, 1964, I was hired by the New York City Police Department. Without training, I was immediately assigned to the Bossy Investigation Unit. My job was to infiltrate civil rights organizations throughout New York City to find evidence of criminal activity. To the FBI, could discredit and arrest its leaders. After witnessing repeated brutalities at the hands of my own co-workers, I tried to resign. Instead, I was threatened with arrest by pinning marijuana and alcohol traffic charges on me if I did not follow through with the assignments. Under the direction of my handlers, I was told to encourage leaders and members of the civil rights group to commit felonious acts. The Statue of Liberty bombing idea was created by my supervisor handlers. Using surveillance, the agency learned that Howe and Sayed were key players in Malcolm X crowd control security details. It was my assignment to draw the two men into a felonious federal crime so that they could be arrested by the FBI and kept away from managing Malcolm X Audubon ballroom door security on February 21st, 1965. On February 16, 1965, the Statue of Liberty plot was carried out and the men were arrested just days before the assassination of Malcolm. At that time, I was not aware that Malcolm X was the target. On February 21st, 1965, I was ordered to be at the Audubon ballroom where I was identified by witnesses while leaving the scene. Thomas Johnson was later arrested and wrongfully convicted to protect my cover and the secrets of the FBI in the New York Police Department. I placed my full confession into the care of my cousin, Reginald Wood Jr. I requested that this information be held until after I have passed away. It is my hope that this information is received with the understanding that I have earned these secrets with a heavy heart and remorsefully regret my participation in this matter. Raymond A. Woods. All right, we are back, right? So that was the letter that he had that you seen in the news broadcast that they held in the plastic, but that was actually what was on supposedly the letter, right? So just imagine you had to live with that, knowing what you had done, right? And the lesson in that really is just about the fact that those who do this, again, clandestine, the clandestine sellout, the one everybody think nobody don't know what you doing. See, in the end, they say everything come out in the wash, right? You working for them peoples. That's how you make that's how you butter your bread. Now, are there honorable work that when things are wrong, that if you work and that's the work, fine. But even in that letter, he stated, right? You heard him state. He stated that he knew, he came to the realization that what he did it was not right, right? So let me break down a little bit of his letter here, right? Because there's a lesson here for those who are doing this. We have them still to this day. And it may not just be just, let's say, police. Because see, some people think we hate the police. No. I mean, you got a job to do, and the job has a purpose. So it's not like it's not warranted or merited when it's needed. But let's just look at, what he said. Let's break it down a little bit. Now, again, he even recognized the fact that he's a black man, right? Because he said he was a black New York City undercover police officer. He was a black man, and he recognized himself as a black man. Now, if you look at the time that he is a policeman, he's been in 1960, 64. He went about 7 years from 64 to 71. Even in his own letter, he says, looking in hindsight, he said it was deplorable, it was detrimental, and then he acknowledges the advancement of my own black people. Let me say that again. Recognize that it was deplorable, it was detrimental to the advancement of my own black people. So, in a sense, is this trying to get some forgiveness? Is that what he was also trying to do here? Right? He gives you a little background also to it, right? He talked about how he was under duress, like a contract that said, you can't be forcing the contract under duress. It's not valid. But in this case, he tell you why it still had to be valid, because he says, according to what he said, he was in fear. And we can understand that. We're talking about this particular time, and them folks come to you, right? Is there a difference between them coming to you or you going to them? Is there a difference between the two? So he said those handlers, his handlers. Didn't really specify who that is. Just these handlers, that was the one that, And these handlers had came to him and said that if he didn't go along with the game, the detrimental consequences, would prevail. So now that he's aging, he got failing health, and then the fact, I don't know if he's even doing this is because of Malcolm. I think it seemed like he's doing it more because in the letter it stated that the fact that the death of Mr. Thomas Johnson, right? Mr. Thomas Johnson, remember that? Right? And that based on his death, right, that now that he's dying, he felt like that his family, which is the Thompson or the Johnson family, was not going to be able to exonerate his name because he said that he was wrongly convicted in the killing of Malcolm X. So, is this about what you did to Malcolm, or is it more about what you did to Thomas? You get what I'm saying? Because listen to what he says in this letter here, right? Now, the letter is implicating the conspiracy part. It is doing that. But I'm saying in his part, is he really about what Malcolm, or is it more about what he did to this other individual, which is Mr. Thomas Johnson? So he's giving you the background that in 1964 of April, right, he was hired by the New York Police Department. He didn't have any training whatsoever. And so without any training, he was immediately assigned to the Bossy Investigation Unit, right? Think about that. You got a job. No training. They're going to put you right in. Now, sometimes you don't work at places where, it used to be you got 90 days, right? Sometimes they throw your ass right in the fire to see if stink or swim, right? And then shit, 2 weeks later, you're out of there, right? But in this case, you're talking about being a police officer, right? No training, no police academy, none of that. You just police. Put on this uniform, go out here, and here's your assignment. Now, just imagine this as you being you. Somebody gonna say, now again, you acknowledge the fact that you're black. You acknowledge that it's deplorable, detrimental. Now, at the time, your mindset might have been different because you were younger. And again, remember what Booker T. Washington said, right? There's those people who don't like people who like myself and others who try to keep our people at some kind of, what's going on, and information, things you may have not caught, right? And they said we use this as a way to to make trouble and, stir up and all that. I mean, if this is what it is, then where's the trouble in it? Oh, the fact that we bring a light to it. Maybe that's what the problem is, right? So maybe he was one of them type, felt like how Booker T. Washington felt, right? So they gave him the assignment. I mean, he was younger at this time. To infiltrate the civil rights organization. Just imagine that. Back in the 60s. Now, a lot of people in hindsight now, some of those who are, baby boomers, when you go back in that particular time when Malcolm and Martin was alive, everybody didn't love them. Let me say it again. Everybody did not love them. A lot of people who was like, y'all gonna cause trouble. But boy, when they dead and gone and there's some benefits in it, now everybody want to celebrate. But everybody didn't love them when they was here on the earth, right? So some people may have been angry that you were out there stoking up talking about some civil rights. He might have been one of them. Because to say that you're going to go in and infiltrate the civil rights organization, right, to find evidence of criminal activity, now that sounds innocent. We want you to go in there, to find out what you can. If you should happen to find out that there's some, anything going on that's criminal, let us know. And if you do, what we're going to do is we're going to discredit and arrest its leaders. So our whole tip now is trying to get the leaders of this group. Okay. So, asking yourself, if they came and posed that to you, what you gonna say? Now again, some people say, I got babies to feed, my wife need clothes. I ain't get old, man. We get it. But you got to put shit on the balance, on the scale. So he goes on, he talks about how the fact that he said he was witnessing repeated brutalities at the hands of his co-workers, which was other police officers that was working. He was seeing people getting beat down, right? Shaking people down, right? And so he said, I tried to resign. Really? Can't quit. He said he tried to resign, but he said instead I was threatened with the arrest by their pen marijuana. Now we still know too, they're just now decriminalizing it in this day. We in 2021, and marijuana is just now being decriminalized, and many brothers have been sitting up in jail on time on marijuana, so we know that has some truth to that, right? We know that's true, right? Especially at that particular time, right? Right? So he said they were going to put some marijuana, and then they were going to also make me be, a moonshine, alcohol trafficking, right? I guess that would have gave you enough time to put you with, you want to kind of do that kind of time, right? So instead, he said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do with this assignment. This is what you want me to do? That's all I got to do? Okay, fine. All right, so some people might sympathize with that, right? Hey, man, you're under that situation, you just might do the same thing, too. Now, he said now, these instructions that he's getting from these handlers, this part here, right? Now, they gave him the instructions for him to go and to encourage leaders and members of the civil rights group to commit felonious acts or felonious acts. Wait a minute. His job now is to go encourage leaders and members of the civil rights to commit. I thought you was going in there originally so that you could just see if they were doing anything. Now you going to encourage them. Now that's your decision now, right? That's a decision you doing. To encourage them, right? Kind of like Black Panther. Remember when Kadeem Harrison was playing in the Black Panther and the white dude was getting him? I told you, remember they went and robbed the gas station with the blind dude in it? he told them to go and make them rob somebody, but he went to rob somebody that they couldn't see, even if he could testify, right? So he was being slick with him. And remember, they tried to rough him up, and then I told you this, right? So we get it, right? But it was a decision you got to make, right? And so I'm still trying to figure this part out too, though, what he said in here. He said that the Statue of Liberty bombing idea, right? Now, is that real? Was that real? Do y'all know if that was real? Well, I did a little research. And my research, what did I come up with? I came up with this. Let me show that for him, right? So it was in the newspaper, the undercover officer held for breaking up bomb plots. So that was real. It was in the paper, right? You see the back of his head, right? You don't see his head, right? Right? So he had made the paper on what he said that he, they had him to plot to do. Now the thing was now they the ones that created the situation, his supervisor and the handler, he said, right? And how they end up being doing this bomb plot is because they found through their surveillance that it was Howell and Sayed who was going to be Malcolm X security details, the ones who had to control the crowd. Now, I'm still trying to figure out, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that these two that was with Malcolm X, that was his security, you said, let's go blow up the Statue of Liberty, and they will say, all right, let's go. Right? Is that really? Is that what they're saying? Because that's what they said, right? So who was those two? Were they ever found to be, maybe they might be undercover too. And think about that. You're going to go to civil rights movement, the organization, and you're going to get encouraged in, let's go blow up this. And somebody going to be like, come on, let's go do it. Huh? Really? Okay. It was in the paper, right? According to what they showed, right? It was in the paper. And accordingly, this all took place, right, days before the assassination of Malcolm X. But he said he had no awareness that this whole thing was targeted about Malcolm X. That's what he said, right, in the letter, right? That's what he said, right? But they said he also was ordered to be at the Audubon Ballroom. Right? He was ordered to be there. He was ordered to be there. And he was there the day that they were shooting and assassinating Malcolm X. But they said according to what he said in the letter, said he was identified by witnesses leaving the scene. So Thomas Johnson was later arrested and wrongfully convicted to protect his undercover, so that his cover wouldn't be blown which wings and wouldn't have not brought to light about the FBI and the NYPD. So is he remorse about what happened with Malcolm, or is it more about Thomas, the brother name, Thomas Johnson, right? Right? He ain't gonna get that face shot. He ain't gonna get a face shot. Right? No, he ain't gonna get no face shot. Right? So, right? So who are the ones today? Who are you today? We ain't gonna say just the poor. Who are you today? Who are the ones that have been doing things and plot to, as he said, right, against your own peoples? Huh? Who are y'all today working in undercover? Who are the clandestine ones today? Right? See? it's a job. You know, it's my job. See, I don't know if that he's really is, you know, about what happened with Malcolm. I think it's more about what happened with, you know, Thomas Johnson. That he should be exonerated. He had nothing to do with it, but I don't know if he's really remorseful about what happened with Malcolm. Maybe he believed that what Malcolm was doing was wrong, right? Because also, you know, the reason why I said that maybe the two that was of, you know, the Statue of Liberty, right? Because wasn't it that, let me see, can I, right? Let me see, I'm show y'all this. Remember that, do that, can you fix that right for me, sir? Yeah, fix that right for me. Because remember, after Malcolm was, you know, shot, wasn't it that, you ready to show that for me, sir? You got that fixed for me? Go ahead and get that fixed for me right there so they can see what I'm talking about. Right, let's see, go up a little bit right there. Okay, that's good, Right? Because remember, the cat that was right there next to Malcolm, right, that was supposed to resuscitating him, was also undercover, right? Right? Even the cat that was right next to him, giving him mouth to mouth, was one of them. So I'm still trying to figure out, you say, well, the dude that was at the door, talking about, yeah, let's go blow up the Statue of Liberty. Who was they? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Judas all up in the camp. So just like they talking about Judas and the Black Messiah, they just releasing all this at the same time, right? Right? Then they come out with this one. Shit, yesterday Tiger had a mysterious crash. What was that about? Crashed on his own. He didn't hit nobody. Just car turned and flipped. Right? Now that cat there, after he was done there, just like when you go to Martin Luther King, right? The cat that's taking the picture, he worked for them peoples too, right? Now the cat that's doing the resuscitating, he leaves from there to 65, and then he goes and he's on another assignment with the Panthers, right? So it's like, you know, who are the cats today? Only time gonna reveal all that. And just imagine, as he said, he had to carry all that. And then he acknowledged the fact that what he did, that it messed up his, you know, the development of his people. But I don't really know the way that letter went down, that it really was about Malcolm. I think it was more about Thomas, you know, Johnson. So they send new evidence into this. Again, what helps in that letter is the fact that it does point to fingers that, you know, there was conspiratory elements and peoples involved in it. But if those who watch this show, remember I used to do an intro. You remember there used to be the part at the end, right before I came on, used to be Dick Gregory. Remember what Dick Gregory had said? Dick Gregory had said that Malcolm called him up on that day and asked him, was he coming? And Dick Gregory said, he said, Brother Malcolm, I love you. Right? He said he gonna call, who's the other person? Somebody he's supposed to call, tell them not to come, because he said today. Now I always wonder, how did he know that? Is this him saying after the fact, or did he know at the time? Because I always wonder, how did Dick Gregory say, again, how did he know to say? He said he's on the phone talking about, he said, because today, he said exactly gonna get you. Remember that? And those who remember seeing my video at the end. Remember that? So a lot of people had already knew, it seems. So it seemed like everybody around you might have been. You never know. So I just always wondered that, right? I always wondered that, like, wait, how could you say that? Now, we know this is 65. We ain't talking about like today where you could get kind of information and people research team and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you probably could have had it there, but I don't know how thorough it could have been unless you had people from the inside to give you that kind of information. But to say that, I was like, wow, wait a minute. You said that? That you told Malcolm that they gonna kill you today? You knew that. Anyway. So the thing is, man, you know, the clandestine sellouts come in all kinds of flavors and fashions. You know, some people hide behind the fact it's just my job. I just do my job because that's what my job tell me to do. I'm benefiting. My family is doing well. The rest of y'all, well, that's so bad, right? Sad though, man. Because when you look at us now, look at the position we in now, and look at what people are trying to do, if this fits you, you have to look at yourself. It's probably hard to look at yourself in the mirror when you say, man, I'll be doing this stuff time because you got problems with people don't want to be in a position to be somebody else's doormat. And you say the grass is greener because you can't really do nothing about it. So why I don't just go ahead and benefit? But to each his own, whatever floats your boat. But in the end, just like that letter he wrote, right? Remorse and regret, and somehow looking for some forgiveness. You know, it's to each and every one to how you are faring right now, how you, whether that don't mean nothing or whether you say you're part of something. We can't say that Malcolm was going to be the totality of all things good, but you know, that's the mystery when somebody who used to be something is no longer here, then you have to say, damn, well, how would things? You have to, you know, imagine. But as I showed the other day in the last show, I showed how to talk about us and coming after the trek we left from the South, and then we came up here through the Great Migration, and then by the 60s, 70s, we getting on our feet and getting ready, and then whammo, 80s come, and you know, right? So we got a lot of clandestine people been working in guise of like they've been really to help you. A lot of people finding out that all that pushing you to go ahead and get somebody to vote them in and don't worry about it. Now he in your face. The other day, didn't he just say nigger? He was nigger the other day, right? He just said it the other day, right? But all them people who was pushing it, they kind of quiet right now. Because he done told you, you ain't getting nothing. You did what you're supposed to do and shut your mouth. So, in time, even those going to come out. Those going to have to reveal themselves. So, hopefully that's not none of nobody around here, but that's how it goes, right? So, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here, man. Just want to do this for the show. I think I got Jacob Bill. Let's see who in the house. I got Yahya Abdul Kabir Bey. What's good, brother? One love to all. Leonard D. Yuya, sup fams. Do up to you as well. Might be just a couple of us in the house. Nobody was expecting me to come on, but I did. So just something a little I wanted to put out there. I didn't want to get too far away from it. Because I think you can't bring nobody back. What's been done is what's done. Bringing light to the situation. I think many of us already kind of know what certain things is. Just got to know where you're at. So again, this is the most hated show on the Black Corner Internet. Teaching everybody out there, much more to you. And you know how we do. We're going to get up out of here. Until my next show, y'all. Until the next show.
You